All right, happy Friday, everybody. We are at the end of the week already. I can't believe how fast that's all going. We've learned a lot of new things this week with Google Classroom. And so we're going to see how it goes with test today. So if you would like to try to do your test on Google Classroom, that would be great. We'll see how it works. And then you can always do it on paper and just have your parents send a picture of it to me when you're finished. So whichever thing works best for you works for me. All right. Let's see. Okay, so we have our page pulled up, and so I put a star by the things that I do need to have back. So if you don't do them in Google Classroom, then you'll have to send them back to me with a picture. Google Classroom, it sends it right to me when you finish it. So today we're going to do morning work, page 122. We have a math for today, week 24 assessment. Read works, you're going to finish up whatever you have left. And I know that some people have been getting different articles. They're all supposed to be the same, but I'm not sure exactly what's happening with that. So whichever articles you have left, we need to make sure we finish them all by the end of the week. And so you have up until Sunday to finish them all and then add to your book of knowledge. We have our capitalizing titles test. And we'll talk about that today. There's two things that you'll want to do on that test. If you do it in Google Classroom, it sends it right to me. Otherwise, if you print it, you can have it sent with a picture. On writing, we have lesson 4 today, and this is the one we're going to be learning. We're going to be taking what we've learned, especially with your little organizer where you put down the 4 things that you would work on and get some facts for that for your animal. You're going to start writing your paper for the first time today, so there'll be a little lesson on that. Then we have our Envision math quizzes. We have 12.5 and 12.6. And if you do those in Google Classroom, it'll send it directly to me. If you don't, you can print it out, do the paper, and then send me a picture. Also, I had sent a packet in everyone's bag. So I know there's just 3 people who need to pick up their bag. But it does have a printed packet in it already. So you probably wouldn't have to print out your papers for the test this week if you do want to do them on paper. The other thing is I'd like you to check to see if your IXL is finished by Sunday. I'm going to be checking it and putting in grades for that. And then your daily assignment checkoff sheet, we're going to try to have that also be in your Google Classroom. So what you would do is I'll have a text box over everything, so you can just cross it off. At the top of the toolbar, there usually is a thing that's just looks like a little line, and you can take that and X it out or just cross off one and then submit that, and then I'll have all of that done for you as well. All right, let's go ahead and do this one you have your book, or you have a copy of this on the paper. We're going to do our comparative and superlative words, bad, worse, and worst. So reading through the sentences, number 1, the beet soup had the bad, worse, or worst flavor I'd ever tasted. Number 2, Morgan thinks the cheese is bad, worse, or worst because it's green. Number 3, having no bike at all is bad, worse, or worst than having an old bike. Number 4, Jay thought the roller coaster ride was bad, worse, or worst because it was so short. All right, so you'll pick the one you think makes the most sense. In math, we have some word problems. So remember, the big thing about word problems is we look through it to see if there's information we really don't need. And names, pronouncing names. If it's too hard for you to pronounce a name, make a new name for them so that you can focus on what's really important. Because in math word problems, the person's name isn't important as much as what's happening or what math is happening in there. So number 5 says, Akbar's mom made gumbo. which is a thick, spicy soup, for dinner. Akbar wants it spicier. He decides to add some hot sauce. Should he add a milliliter of hot sauce or a liter of hot sauce to his bowl of gumbo? Remember, a 2 liter bottle is big, and then half of that would be a liter. So how much hot sauce should they use? Should they use milliliters or liters? So you're just writing that word, milliliter or liter, on this line. Number 6 says, Kwiku lives on a farm with his family and 30 sheep. He gives the sheep plenty of water. Should he use milliliters or liters to measure the water he gives to the sheep? So you have 30 sheep, so that's a lot of water you need to do. So would you rather fill up their water using milliliters, or would you rather fill up their water using liters? On our story, read the text, then answer the question. The question says, how can you tell that the genre of this story is science fiction? The genre means the type of story. So fiction is a made-up story, but science is an actual study. So would this sound like a scientific fiction story? Cameron and Becky's dad was a scientist, and he decided to do an experiment on them. What kind of animal would you choose to be? He asked. Cameron said he'd be a frog, and Becky said she'd be a butterfly. Their dad put a metal helmet with wires on each of them. In a flash, Becky was flying high up in the air. She was happy and colorful, but she couldn't talk. She flew to the ceiling. Cameron's skin was green. He hopped around the room saying, "Ribbit, now I have to figure out how to make you human again," their dad said. So how can you tell the genre of this story is science fiction? How can you tell that it's based in science, but it's made up? What parts help you know that? All right, so here's our Math for Today paper. We're going to go over this in Google Classroom in just a moment. And then we have our capitalizing titles. We're going to go over that in Google Classroom, excuse me. But I did put a star on here to remind you, if you don't do it on Google Classroom, that this needs to come back to me. So the last 6 pages in the attachment today, I would need back. Math for Today test, grammar test, our 2 Envision tests. So I'm going to go over those in Google Classroom. And then the last thing would be your daily checkoff sheet would need to be with the things marked off. So the last 6 pages of the attachments for Friday would need to come back to me if you don't do them in Google Classroom. All right, let's go over to Google Classroom. And we have our lesson, writing lesson number 4 is right here. So you'll finish that. And then don't forget, you do have a spelling test. I guess I didn't put that on our Friday list. I guess I must have forgotten to put that on there. But you do have a spelling test on list 25 today. So you'll want to finish that up and then make sure all of your spelling city assignments are finished as well. All right, let's click on our Math for Today assessment. All right, so if this is kind of hard to see, we can always go over here and bring it in a little closer. So I put text boxes around everything for you to answer. Oh, I'm going to have multiples of myself again today, it looks like. I wonder why it does this. Oh, how many, Mrs. Martinez, could there be? Goodness, there's lots of me. Okay. So there's text boxes that you can finish your work on, and they're purple. They may look blue. On this page, it's blue, I guess. All right, so there's that one. We also have our grammar test today. And there's that one. And so there's text boxes underneath for you to type your answers in. We also have our Envision test 12.5. It's a little quiz. And so on this one, You have little pink things. That's where you need to answer. And then the same for the 12.6. You would have to fill those pink boxes. Not as many to do on that one. All right, so that we can write on them, we're going to go back to our lumens so that we can write on that one. All right, let's see. I'm all the way tucked in the corner. All right, so we're back on our Math for Today test. So, excuse me, on number 1, it says to label 3/6 on the number line, and number 2 asks us to label 6/6 on the same number line. So we're going to use the same one here. All right, let's see, let me get a little text here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I know that here's where one of them goes. And that one's going to be 3/6. Where would your 6/6 go? So I could do a little text box to show. You're going to draw your text. You could put your text box under any of those to do that. All right, so on this one, it says shade the square to show 2 out of 6. 6 ones here. How would we shade it to show 2 out of 6? So if you're doing that on Google Docs, you would just, grab the pen tool and color that in, or put a big X on it to show how many you would do. All right, on number 4, let's see if I can get a little closer here. All right, so you are going to measure how many inches long the hammer is. So it's a little bit longer than the whole number that's there. So what would the fraction be that goes with that as well? All right, and then this one, we want to make sure that we are doing both. So we need to divide the rectangle into halves, and then we need to label each half with an appropriate fraction. So we want to make sure we label any fraction that there is there. On this one, I noticed I was grading Math for Today from last week, and I noticed that several people are still having some trouble with this one. So what the denominator means is any shape that they're showing is broken up into 3 pieces. So we can see 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But if I asked you how many pieces are available to eat, so we have our cake here. How many pieces, if you were going to eat all of the available pieces, how many pieces would you eat? So that would go up here. So your number on the top is going to be larger than your denominator on that one. On number 7, write greater than, less than, or equal to make the statement true. So this is cut up into 8 pieces, and this is 1 piece out of 8. And this is cut up into 2 pieces, and this is half. So is the 1/8 greater than, less than, or equal to the 1/2? So think of your favorite brownies or cookies, and which one would you rather eat? Which one would be the bigger piece? Which one would be the smaller piece? Or are they equal? Number 8, are these 2 fractions equivalent? Meaning, are they equal? If I rotated this around, would they both be the same amount? Yes or no? And then on number 9, we have some multiplication and a division problem. So 5 times 5 equals what? Skip counting by 5. 3 times 4 equals what? You can skip count by 3. You can skip count by 4. And then 36 divided by 4 equals what? Or what times 4 equals 36? Number 10 says, so we've got a story problem. We've got to look for what's important. A group of 10 third graders are making penguins using cardboard tubes. Each third grader needs one cardboard tube, okay, 2 wiggle eyes, and 1 piece of construction paper. So those items, how many items do they need for each person? How many items do all 10 third graders need for the penguin project? So we have 10 kids who need how many groups of 4 on that one? So if you have any questions, send me an email. Go ahead and rewind, or excuse me, that's an older term. Slide back to see which ones we've gone over before if you still have questions. All right, let's rotate this guy. All right. So we're going to make ourselves a little smaller. All right, on this one, we're going to rewrite the title using the correct capitalization. The other thing I'd like you to do is underline if it's a book title or a movie and put quotation marks around it if it's a song or a poem. All right, so number 1 says, The Land of Stories. This is a title. So which words in this title have to be capitalized? So you would write right underneath this problem. Number 2, Way of the Warrior Kid. How would we write that title correctly? So remember, not every word is capitalized. And then also remember, not just one word is capitalized. There are many words that are capitalized in a title. May and June and the Wonder Wheel. So how would you capitalize that title? Number 4, The Magic Looking Glass. The Magic Looking Glass. Number 5, The Big Book of Fun. The Big Book of Fun. So go ahead and push pause if you need to write this on your paper. Or if you're doing this, on your Google Classroom, you're just going to type it in the little text box right below. I Was a Third Grade Spy. That sounds like an interesting book. The World According to Humphrey. We read that book. Number 8, Dog Finds Lost Dolphins. And number 9, otherwise known as Sheila the Great. That's a good one. It's a good book to read. And then number 10, The Day the Crayons Quit. I believe we read that book. It's a pretty cute one. So we're going to be writing it correctly. Which words need to be capitalized? Which words can we leave not capitalized? All right, so on number 12.5 in our Envision, we're going to be answering some questions about the number line and dividing it up into fractions. So a number line is a line divided into equal parts that shows fractions and numbers in order. The number line at the right has, and you're going to write your answer here. So on our Google Classroom, I put some boxes and I made them purple so you could notice them. So the number line at the right has how many equal parts? How many parts are there? You write that number here for equal parts. Each part is how many of the whole piece. So now we want the fraction. How much is each piece worth? What's the fraction? What is the missing fraction on the number line? What's this number supposed to be? We have 1/4, something, 3/4, and 1 whole. So we've got 1, 2, 3 on that one to answer. Number 2 says you can represent fractions that are greater than 1 on a number line. Show 6/4 on the number line. The whole is the distance between 0 and 1. This is 1 whole. This is 2 wholes. The denominator is, so what's our denominator? You write that here. The whole is divided into 4 equal lengths. Each length is how many of the whole. So what's our fraction of each part? The numerator is what? There are 6 lengths of 1/4. Okay. And then the point showing 6 lengths of 1/4 can be labeled as 6/4 because we're all the way over here. So we've already passed 1. So this would be 4/4, 5/4, 6/4. It says, is 6/4 greater than or less than 1? Is this bigger than 1 or less than 1? You're going to write your answer on that one there. Number 3 says any point on a number line can be named using a fraction. So we don't have an answer for these question mark ones. How many equal lengths are between 0 and 1? How many are these divided into? How many parts are there? Each part is how much of the whole? That would be the fractional part of the whole. The numerator shows the number of copies of the unit fraction. What are the missing fractions on the number line? So you can just type or write those right here. Just list them in order, what they are. And then on the bottom it says, draw and divide a number line into thirds. Label the fractions 2/3, 4/3, and 5/3 on the number line. So remember, it's just like we did here. We went past a whole number. So our number line is going to have past a whole number, past the number 1. So on your Google Docs, your Google Classroom, you'll be able to put in those numbers. I already drew a number line for you, but you can put the numbers at the bottom. All right, and our last test, this is using our line plots. Data is information you collect. A line plot shows data on a number line. To read a line plot, count the dots above each number on the number line. In this line plot, the numbers below the number line show the number of soccer goals scored. Each dot stands for one soccer game. Okay, so it says players scored 3 goals in, and then it's so hard to see, but it's supposed to be an answer right here. Players scored 3 goals in how many soccer games? So looking here, see which one had 3 goals. And how many soccer games did they play to do that? Players scored how many goals in 1 soccer game? All right, and your answer goes in that space. The distance between each whole number on a ruler is 1 inch. The marks on this ruler show 1/4 inch marks. Use the ruler to measure the rectangle to the nearest 1/4 inch. So here's our rectangle. We're measuring it to the nearest 1/4 inch. To the nearest 1/4 inch, the length of the rectangle is 11/4 inches. This is how many whole parts, so how many whole numbers did it pass, and 3/1/4 inches. You can write this as 2 and what fraction? So looking at this one, 2 and how many more? It's cut into 4 parts. Number 3 says the lengths of several rectangles were measured and recorded in the line plot. Which length did most rectangles measure? Blank inches. So it's telling us that. We're using that one. How many rectangles were measured in all? We need an answer for that one too. How many rectangles? We're not using it on the back. We're just going to do it on the bottom. A student has 3 stamps that are 1 1/4 inches long, 5 stamps that are 1 2/4 inches long, and 2 stamps that are 1 3/4 inches long. Make a line plot for the data. So just like they did here, a line plot, we're going to make a line plot, which I drew a line there already, and you're going to plug in the numbers for these, putting a dot above or an X above. All right, and then don't forget to include your name at the top here and then crossing off what you got done. So we need to have all of these articles read. We need to have all of our spelling city done and our tests, do our spelling test. We need to have our morning work done and our math for today our Math for Today test. We need to have done all of our grammar lessons and our grammar test and all of our writing lessons on Google Classroom. And then we have all of our Envision Math and our line plots and then our quizzes. And then this is the stuff we're trying to finish up this week. And then I'm going to be looking to see that these are all finished by Sunday. I'll give you, the weekend to make sure you get those finished. All right. So if you have any questions, of course, please email me. I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. We are having an internet company come tomorrow to try to help us improve the speed of our internet. So I might be working on that throughout the day at the same time, but I will try to get back to you as soon as I possibly can. And you guys are doing a great job. I'm still thinking and working on things that we can do. I know that a Zoom meeting was fun. I have another idea that I think might be easier for people to hear each other. So I will be letting you know what I come up with that. So do your best. You guys, I'm so proud of you. You've been doing such an excellent job. I sure do wish we were in the classroom. I really do. Have a greater appreciation for what we got to share for most of the year, and very grateful for the time that we had, and very bummed that I'm missing out on that stuff with you guys right now. So I'm trying to make sure that we're staying connected. So if you want to send me a video or an email, letting me know how you're doing, that would be great too. I miss you guys, and I'd love to hear how you're doing. All right, guys, good luck with Google Classroom. I'm going to send out a survey to moms and dads and see what they think about it, on how easy it would be to use, because I don't want to move to it if that's not going to be the best thing for everybody. So, all right, I will talk to you soon, guys.